All right, so I've got the lovely Nikki with me today, and she is wonderful, and I want to bring her on to interview her today because she has got a mind like no one else, and she's a founder of a great little business. Well, it's quite a decent sized business actually. It's called Evergreen Coaching, and she works in sales. She works with people in sales and business growth. She works with leaders of their own companies and people in leadership roles and sales teams within bigger companies and bigger organizations. So how are you, Nikki?
I'm excellent, thank you. Really, really happy to be here.
That's awesome. Nikki's also a wonderful client of mine. We've been working for the last few months with their lovely sister Mon as well. And they've been kicking ass in their training, which has been really cool. And even like, you know, in this time with the coronavirus as well, and we've transitioned everything into virtual sessions, and it's been going really, really well. If anything, the intensity's sort of risen a little bit, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm really proud of us actually because we've not missed a single session. There's no excuses. There's always a way. So it's just been that streamline straight into it. Do what we need to do to get it done.
Oh, good. I love that. And that's what it's all about, is consistency, right?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about you and your business and what your beliefs are behind why you do what you do.
It's a great question. So as you mentioned, we work with businesses to really focus on sales and business growth and leadership. So it's really uncovering where are the potential gaps and opportunities in a business to ensure that the business is sustainable, it's profitable. The culture, we really focus a lot on culture, high performance culture as well. And I was sharing a little bit before around what's really important to us is that we don't take a one-dimensional approach to working with people and working with our clients and teams. We have to understand what's happening internally from a mindset point of view, from a belief point of view, what is really holding people back in order to be able to move through that and then implement the external strategies to really accelerate those results and ensure that high performance success. So why we do what we do is really about, might sound cliche, but we are all about unlocking human potential and understanding human behavior in order to be able to do that in the best way possible that's fun and engaging and challenging at times, like exactly what you do with your clients, what I've experienced. So that's what we're here. We want to create positive change, one person, one business at a time.
I love it. And as you can see, like Nikki's so lovely as well. She's got such an awesome energy around her. And you can see why people resonate to her and her business. And she's a great reflection of exactly what her coaching business is about. And it's those of you that know me as well, it's exactly why we resonate quite well, I think, together, right? We've talked about this quite often, eh? So what are some things that you would recommend for people in this sort of time, when we're all isolated and with a bit of uncertainty and everything? What would you suggest for those sort of people unleashing their own true potential at home? If you've got anything.
Yeah. Oh, I've got so much. How long do we have? A starting point. Let's just go starting point. So it's a really good point. There's so much uncertainty out there in the world, and certainty and uncertainty, they're both two core needs that as human beings, we have them. But when we have too much uncertainty, that's when we really are coming from a place of fear. That's when we start to see the behaviors that we've seen displayed get out of control. Side note, there's so much toilet paper in the local supermarket. I saw it last night. That ain't a problem anymore, people. So that's good. But that's what's driving all of this behavior, this panic behavior. It's the uncertainty. So there has been a lot of change, even if it's moving to work from home model or not being able to exercise in the gym that you're used to or in the park or whatever that might be. So a couple of things that we need to do to offset that certainty is find ways. There's three things I'll quickly touch on. Find ways to ensure that there's certainty in place. So we were joking and laughing, well, it's true, about the fact that we have not missed a single session since all of this happened. Now, that's an example of finding what is BAU, business as usual, and minimizing disruption to that. Because I know every Wednesday morning I have my session with Isaac and my sister and I'm going to get my ass kicked, but that is a sense of certainty because that's been happening since the beginning of the year. So whilst it's changed, it's still fulfilling that need for certainty. So look at what you have had in place in the past and make sure you're minimizing disruption to that, whether it's your health. Well, it has to include your health and your well-being, physical, mind, and spiritual or soul, or whatever you want to call that piece as well. The other bit is remember to reach out for connection wherever possible. You know, we've got all the digital platforms, but that doesn't always mean true connection. So how are you connecting with yourself, and how are you connecting with people around you? And if you're in business, how are you connecting with your team? And introduce some fun. So everything you're doing, create some fun. My mission for today, actually, I was journaling this morning, is to bring joy in everything I'm doing, and it's working so far, loving it. So connection, certainty, and fun. I think that's one of the, whether that's from a business approach point of view or for personal, there are 3 things you have to be focusing on at the moment and bringing into every day.
I love it. That's great. You know, I resonate a lot with all of that, because one of the major things, you know, when this all started for our business anyway, is that, and I think I talked to you about this, is making sure that everyone stays in their same routine. And I did a huge amount of work to try and maintain that everybody stays with the same structure, because as soon as you know, even in times where there's not a coronavirus or anything like chaotic like that going on, change is a big task, you know. And as you know, in bigger companies and organizations, especially, as you know, they have change managers in place to facilitate that whole thing, right? Which I'm sure you have a lot to do with as well, right, when it comes to that sort of stuff. So keeping in routine, I think, is really, really cool. BAU, I love that, business as usual. Which is exactly what we need to be doing. Yeah, I love that. So, Nicky, what at the moment, I'm really interested, because you're such a inspirational kind of person, and like you said, you're bringing the fun to everything and bring joy to everything, which is actually such an important part of learning, because people learn it at like, you know, 10 times the amount when they're in a playful state, when you're having fun with stuff. So I really think that's something that we should bring back. We've been trying to bring that back to training quite a lot. Even if it's just the personalities, just having fun with what you're doing, even if it's intense. But I'm really interested because of the person that you are. Like, who inspires you, and what inspires you, or what are you curious about at the moment?
Great question. Who inspires me? I mean, at the risk of sounding cliche, my ultimate inspiration is those that are closest to me, and my mum, my wife, my sisters, 100%, because my grandmother, you know, and aunties, they're such strong women, and they have all in their own way faced, you know, a lot of challenges. And our family, we were just talking this morning, our family's Hungarian, and the family line, there's a lot of strength and courage that the women, especially in my family, and the men, but have had to face for us to be here today. For me to be having this conversation with you in this digital platform, this digital world, when all of this chaos is happening in the world around us. So I think, you know, there's a lot of seriousness to life, and therefore that strength, that courage, that vulnerability is equally as important. But if we don't bring that lightness to it and have that fun and that enjoyment, well, what the hell did we work so hard for? Whether it's our ancestors working to build the life that we have today, or whether it's us working to build, you know, our family structure or our businesses today, what's the point if we're not able to enjoy it as well? So definitely my family inspires me immensely. And then if we look outside of that, certainly, you know, there's some key business leaders as well that I will go to and follow. So particularly, you will hear, there's been a lot of talk about the emotional roller coaster at the moment. So when I'm on that roller coaster, I need to plug into the people that will fill my cup. And it's people like Lisa Messenger as well online. So what media are you consuming, or what social media are you consuming? You know, jumping on and watching some of your videos, it's the same thing. It brings that inspiration, that lightness, and it's focusing on the right things that we can influence, and not on the fear mongering and the scary stuff that we cannot control. I think, yeah, so it's a really great question, but I think I probably ebb and flow and change. Reading, I'm always reading something. That is a massive source of knowledge and inspiration as well. I think it's really hard.
Are you reading anything in particular at the moment?
I just finished, I put it back in my bookshelf. I just finished a book called Do Less, Be More. Yeah, that's right. You don't want to get that one the wrong way. So I just finished that this morning. Really good book. Highly recommended. Yeah, Do Less, Be More. I'll take a photo and I'll send it to you, and I can add it. Yeah.
What did you take from that? Is the title, does that just say it all, basically?
Yeah, so it goes through, it's really good in understanding. I think one of the key things that I've taken away, and it's actually something I've been focusing on implementing already anyway, is that we get caught in this busy trap. So we actually get a dopamine hit when we tick an item off a task, a to-do list. You know what that feels like? It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
I got so much done.
I
But
make
what
my bed in the morning. Woohoo.
in my bed in the morning. Exactly. So that's all great. But what you have to remember is if that's the repeat pattern every day, you might feel productive, but what have you actually achieved?
Mhm.
And because our brain is addicted to this and we're always looking for the quickest answer, the quickest fix,
Mhm.
we've got the lazy brain, it can be easy sometimes to feel good about being productive when we actually haven't been productive. So it's about challenging ourselves. It's not about the number of hours that we're working. It's about prioritizing what we get done in those hours. And there's like 21 tips and things that you can be doing, but that's the essence of it. So I think, which again is what inspired me today to go, okay, today I'm going to bring joy in everything that I do and pause between each task to acknowledge, right, I've just achieved something. Because that's the other thing. I don't know about you, Isaac, but I will achieve next, done, next, done, next, done, next.
Yeah.
And if anyone who's watching here can relate, it's kind of like, well, when do we actually just acknowledge and go, I did that thing. That's pretty cool. High five. Give yourself a high five.
I try and do that naturally because I've read a fair few things like that. I try and do that as well. It's a learned skill to be able to, and you need that reminder quite often, I think, to allow yourself to do that. I love those books. There's quite a few books that relate to, I think one's called Eat the Frog or something like that, like getting up and getting the biggest, scariest thing done at the start of the day, so that then the rest of the tasks are easy and you've got that out of the road. Whereas if you leave that to the end of the day, the chances of you actually getting it done are very slim to none. And plus, it gets scarier and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Oh my gosh, isn't that true? The stories we create in our mind, and then when you go to do it, you think, wow, that really wasn't even that hard. Yeah, Eat the Frog is a classic, and there's so many great tools and resources out there. So I think the more that we can be proactive in our own learning and growth around this, you'll read something and think, I've heard that before. But see, here's the other thing. Learning is not just reading, listening, seeing. It's taking in the theory, implementing it, and then the full learning cycle closes out when you can share it with someone else. So I think that's another good little tip for people to think about. Just because you read something, you didn't learn it.
Exactly.
You heard it, or you read it, or you watched it, and that's it.
We see this time and time again, in health and fitness, with especially particularly around nutrition. We talk about the same thing over and over and over and over again. And sometimes I feel like a broken record, but it's, and even when I'm doing it, 10 years down the track, I'm like, oh yeah, I need to tighten up that. Oh yeah, I need to do that, and it's a never ending thing, you've got to keep up to date and keep reminding yourself. You can't possibly take it all in. It reminds me, actually, I bought this new stuff called Alpha Brain. It's a new, I don't know if you've seen it. Have you seen it? It's a new supplement, actually, and it's got some pretty cool, exciting double-blind studies, but it's all these natural plant extracts and stuff that are actually made to be really, really good for your focus. And so I'm going to test it out over the next while, but it's actually become really, really big in America. So it's quite exciting. I'll keep you up to date with that stuff, though. Alpha Brain. Really good for professionals. So that was just a off little. So obviously you've got quite a few tips and strategies for people, right? In all different scenarios, right? What do you think in terms of life itself? What would be the 3 best top Nicky tips that you can give everyone that's going to listen to this video?
That is such a big question.
Isn't it?
Okay, tip one, look after yourself first so that you can look after others. I think that's a big, we forget that it's easy to take care of everybody else, but by looking after ourselves, we actually are giving back to others. So I think that's tip number 1. Tip number 2 would be, there's so many to choose from, but this is just what's coming up. There's a really good mantra that I live by, which is we're either green and growing or ripe and rotting. So what that means... That's
evolve or dissolve, right? Same thing.
Evolve or dissolve. That's exactly right.
Can you repeat it?
So we're either green and growing or ripe and rotting.
Love
Continue to get yourself out of your comfort zone. Continue to learn, grow in any area that you can. Otherwise you'll end up ripe and rotting. And the third, I think, is get really clear on your purpose. What is your why? You know, it's a very big thing for me to say, get really clear on your purpose in life. And some people might be clear on that, and that's great, rock on, awesome. If you hear that and you think, far out, I don't know, instead of putting pressure on yourself around that, just start with the small things. What's the purpose for the day? To find joy in the little moments. Or what's your purpose for your family, what you can give? Or what's the purpose in your business or in your role? So wherever you are, figure out your why. And that way, if it's not actually fulfilling you where you are now, you've got an opportunity to change your life. You know, we do create the world that is around us.
I love it. So it's look after yourself, which is such an important one. I love that, because so many times, even like I talk with a lot of mothers and stuff, and you know they're struggling to look after their kids and whatnot, but they're just not looking after themselves to start with. So it's a hard thing to sort of pass on, but often it's the most rewarding part, right? And then you're either evolving or dissolving, or green and growing, or ripe and rotting. I love that.
Yep.
And finding your why, which is, you know, gives you purpose, definitely. And in health and fitness as well, like just for our community as well, you know, I see this a lot, is that the people that just come to us with their, you know, that one goal of, I just want to lose weight and tone up. It's like, yeah, but why do you want that? And then, you know, you can go so many levels deep into those questions, right? Same with business and sales and all those things, right? Is that's just the surface sort of statement that we tell ourselves, right? Because society sort of demands that of us. But it's why is that important to you? Why is that important to you? You know, why is that important to you? It goes deeper and deeper and deeper until the real feeling is there.
Absolutely, because that's what's going to get you up in the morning when you do not feel like it, or you getting yourself out of your comfort zone when you're scared, when you don't want to, or finding connection, certainty, fun when you just feel like you're, you know, really down on that roller coaster. You've got to figure out your why.
Definitely. Have you ever heard, you know, speaking of comfort zones, have you ever heard about what the zone is outside of that?
In what way? What do you mean?
I just wondered if you had an idea. Like I heard the other day, and it's the first time I've actually heard it. I always think that I like, you know, how you hear the same repeated messages in self-development often, but someone said you've got to get outside your comfort zone into your courage zone.
Oh,
So good. I love that.
Love it.
And it's exactly what it is, right?
Okay, so let's build on that for a moment. Courage only shows up once you've taken the step, taken the action.
Absolutely.
So a lot of people in life, I'll just wait until all my ducks need to be lined up in a row, or this needs to happen, and then I'll have the courage. Courage does not show up 1 second earlier than when you take that step into your courage zone. Yeah. So be aware of that. Be aware of what's holding you in your safe zone and not getting you out there to your courage zone. Love it.
You like that? That's good. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah.
So for you, you know, like when you and I are working on your health and fitness journey, and I know Nicky loves her spin classes, and she does yoga with her other sister as well, which is lovely. What is it for you that really, what are your non-negotiables basically around taking care of yourself, whether it be, you know, from a physical point of view or a mental point of view? What are your non-negotiables with your routine?
Yeah, that's such a good question, because as you know, so self-care has been a massive focus of mine for many years. When I experienced burnout, and I was in a high-flying job role, there was a lot of expectation, and I experienced burnout. And self-care has been a massive focus of mine since then, particularly mentally. And my barriers to break, particularly this year, have been around the physical, which is why I'm so grateful to be working with you. And I think one of the non-negotiables needs to be that we have to be kind to ourselves. I know that might sound a little bit left of field, because this is what I'm talking about before around the internal strategies versus the external strategies. So a non-negotiable for me has to be bring kindness to myself, and also work on the internal dialogue. It does not matter if I have a schedule that we create that's going through all of the different programs and exercises and nutrition and diet. If I'm not working on my internal belief system, then that can fall over. It's like the why. That can fall over in a second if I'm not clear on why I'm doing this, and self-sabotage. And things like self-sabotage, they're going to happen. So if we can be kind to ourselves and work through it internally, then I think that's really important. The other non-negotiable for me is that I have to be enjoying it. So if we now talk about the external, the actual exercise or the food, I've learned that fitting into somebody else's mold of exercise will not work for me. Naturally, I'm a very... if anybody's familiar with DISC, it's that I influence a personality. It's got to be fun, otherwise I get bored, which is why I love spin, which is why I love working, with Isaac. For me, it doesn't work doing online programs. I need someone in person, even if it's virtual, to bring some entertainment to it and keep me on track, but bring that fun element. So that was a big thing I realized around find what works for you. For some people, the online self-management piece works. For some people, doing it more autonomously. Others, it's classes. Work on yourself internally, be kind to yourself, and make sure you find whatever you're doing, it's fun, because then it becomes easier.
way easier, absolutely.
It doesn't have to be so hard, even when it's physically hurting hard. Yeah.
I love that. That's all very, very, very important. I think you brought that up quite a few times, being like having fun with things and being playful and stuff. Which I think it's almost, like I said before, it's like a lost. It's almost, we've been lost around that for so many years. And I think even the medical industry is coming around about that, and rather than going down just such a pharmaceutical direction, they're starting to go, hang on a second, maybe people do need to be out in the sunlight more, and people need to have their feet in the grass a bit more. And that's where there's huge studies coming out about epigenetics, like what we've been talking about. And Nicky's just had her epigenetic profile just done recently, which is pretty interesting, because your genetic profile actually suggests a whole bunch of stuff about your personality and where you tend to be best to exercise and what you like to eat, and these sorts of things. It's scarily accurate, right?
It is, but also it can be challenging. So my results came out the opposite in some ways of what I anticipated. I always thought that I was more of a exercise. We were talking about this exercise in the morning, and it's challenged me to think, and this is what I do for my living, for my life's purpose. Mm-hmm. So again, this is the whole green and growing. Make sure you're doing it for yourself. But I have implemented some changes, and it's definitely working. That's cool. So I think it's got to be tailored to you. That's the big thing here, isn't it?
It is personalised health, and I'm going to be interviewing Dr. Cam actually in the next few weeks, because I'm doing the PH360 course for personalised health in early May. Next week we talk with my other trainer Luke, who's a PH360 provider, and then I think the following week or the week after that is Dr. Cam, who's one of the original doctors who's done the research there, which is it's going to be pretty interesting. So, yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to hear that.
I'll make sure that you get the link for that. Last couple of things, okay? Is there anything else that you think I should have asked but I haven't asked you?
No, I think you're doing great.
Is it more or less? Is there anything else you would like to share?
Yeah. No, I think we've covered off some really, really important points. I think remember that connection, certainty, fun piece that we talked about. Really have a look at how am I taking care of myself. And as some people out there are experiencing a bit of downtime, so they've got more time on their hands than they have. Other people are experiencing that it actually hasn't changed that much in terms of time availability, but there's so much change around them. So wherever you're at, really just find ways to focus on the things that you can influence. And if you do have some more time, really reflect on the key components that we've talked about today, because this can be the catalyst for beautiful change in your life. It really, really can be. With every, dark, there's light. So really make of this what you will, what you choose to.
Thank you for sharing so much. We've got one last thing that I like to leave everyone on. Is if you had a billboard, right? And this billboard could be seen by the whole world, right? What would it say on it?
Fortune favors the brave. Fortune
favors the brave. I love it. Did you already know that question was coming?
I know you would think so, because I didn't even need to think about it. But that is honestly, it's a mantra that actually Jules, my wife, shared with me about 12 years ago, 11, 12 years ago. And it has taken me so many places, because when I think about that, it gets me in the space of, well, what's the brave thing to do right now? And it's applicable for personal, it's applicable for business. It's just, applicable for life.
I love it. Nicky, thank you so much. You're awesome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for everything that you are doing for your community, for your clients, for the people all around you. You are just such a phenomenal person, and I'm very grateful that our paths crossed and we get to do cool stuff like this together.
Same. It's only just the beginning, right? For us. It's great.
Yeah.
Thanks, mate. I appreciate it.
Excellent. Namaste.
I always do that.